my report is the influence of the structural factor on economic growth. The technological level and structure of the economy are the most important characteristics of the economic development. Economic efficiency and the quality of economic growth are significantly dependent on technological and structural changes. The prospects of the Russian economy are increasingly associated with factors of structural and technological development. The most popular measure of structural changes in economy is the change in the sector's share in the studied aggregate, for example, gross output. It is important to note that this is not only a metric of structural changes in the economy. The meaning of this metric is to show the changes and the rate of companies changing in the aggregate. But what is the contribution of all these changes to economic growth? As a rule, the production increase is provided with accelerated growth in a number of sectors, which is faster than the growth of gross output. Similarly, the decline in production is accompanied by an accelerated decline in some part of economy. Exactly these production changes determine the final result, the aggregate dynamics. The accelerated growth in a sector which faster than the growth of gross output is expressed in the sector share increasing in the total gross output amount. We propose to calculate the contribution of structural factor to economic growth using this formula. Here, the S with plus is the structural factor share in production, and delta share in sector I is positive absolute changes of the sector's share in the gross output. And it is important that I, the number of sectors with growth faster than the growth of gross output. So, on this graph, you can see the estimates of structural factor contribution to economic growth during growth period from 1999 to 2008. The structural factor contribution is by green. I think that is green color. This formula is the same one, but we use it for a period of economic decline, and here we use delta share. This is negative absolute changes of the sector share. And on this graph shows us the contribution of the structural factor to economic decline during decline period of the Russian economy. And finally, on this graph, you can see our estimates of the structural factor contribution to economic growth on the whole period under review, together with the gross output dynamic. And we can see that the influence of the structural factor becomes stronger before and after radical economic changes, with the trend of economic dynamic change here before and after, and here too. So we managed to get easily determined estimates the structural factor influence on economic growth of the period of economic growth and period of decline, and that's all.
Okay, we have time for questions.
Dear colleagues, the problem of connection between structural changes and economic growth, first of all, very important for developing countries, such as Russia. But our last estimation showed that it's not true, because for developed countries, such as United States, European Union countries, these structural factors is very important too. Because, for example, this case with electric cars, it will be case with very high structural changes in electricity sector and machinery equipment sector and so on. And from my point of view, the economic policy in developing and in developed countries have to use these possibilities to change economic growth with structural changes. And in literature is not so much papers in this field. And in current conditions of world economic dynamics, it's disadvantage for economic policy.
Rafael, thank you for presentation. My question is, which structural changes are expected in Russian economy in a medium-term period? The most important structural changes
This question
in near future.
Rafael, but for me. Yes, of course. We have rapidly limitation on the economic output growth in energy sector, because average growth rates of oil production, gas production, coal production is about 1.5% per year. But future economic growth in Russia could be minimum 3.5–4% per year growth of GDP. And of course, in this case, the share of energy sector will be decreased in structure of our economy if we have these growth rates. And share of manufacturing sector, such as machinery and equipment, metallurgy, chemical products will be increase. And finally, we have very high share of services in structure of our economy. We have a share of services in economy such in developed countries. And for Russia, it's not so good, because we have no incomes from manufacturing, from primary sectors. And of course, the share of services will be stable in the forecast period for maybe for next 20 years, or slowly decrease. So
this will have an impact, just to connect what you are saying with what we will present on Thursday, on an impact also on your imports, because some of the sectors you were mentioning in manufacturing are mainly imported from abroad, so there will be substitution.
we imported very simple goods. It's a problem. Not for high-tech import. It's okay.
Okay.
But we have a very high share of low technologies import. Yes.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I thank you, Rafael, and I welcome